Τι είναι ο διάλογος? Η συνομιλία, η συζήτηση με στόχο την πληροφόρηση και την αναζήτηση της αλήθειας. Όπως το οξυγόνο είναι απαραίτητο για τον ανθρώπινο οργανισμό, ο επικοδομητικός συμμετοχικός διάλογος είναι απαραίτητος για τη λειτουργία της δημοκρατίας. Ο οργανισμός οξυγόνο στοχεύει στην καλλιέργεια μιας κουλτούρας διαλόγου και ανταλλαγής απόψεων μεταξύ εμπειρογνωμόνων, αξιωματούχων και άλλων πρωταγωνιστών και την πρόθεση ιδεών στα κέντρα λήψης αποφάσεων, στην παρουσία και με τη συμμετοχή του πολίτη που έχει άποψη. Το οξυγόνο δεν ανήκει σε κανέναν, αλλά ταυτόχρονα ανήκει σε όλους. Δεν εκφράζει συγκεκριμένη άποψη. Είναι απλώς μία πλατφόρμα συζήτησης θεμάτων που διευρύνουν τους ορίζοντές μας. Για να λύσουμε προβλήματα, για να βελτιώσουμε την νοοτροπία μας, για να εξελίξουμε τη χώρα μας. Συμμετέχουμε, συνεργαζόμαστε, συζητάμε. Μέσα από τον διάλογο κερδίζουμε όλοι. Ο πολίτης που θέλει να πληροφορηθεί και να εισακουστεί και ο πολιτικός που χρειάζεται την άποψη και στήριξη του πολίτη για να προωθήσει αλλαγές. Τα πράγματα μπορούν να αλλάξουν. Η αλλαγή αρχίζει από διάλογο και εξελίσσεται σε πράξεις. Αρχίζει με το οξυγόνο.
Okay, good evening, everybody. We'd like to welcome you to our event tonight. Hope everyone's keeping well during these trying times. Briefly, my name is Jenny Kiprianou, and I studied law at UCL. Though we were hoping for our next event to be a physical one over wine and cheese, safety does come first. So we have the pleasure of welcoming you to our third inaugural event. And without further ado, I would like to hand over to Aris Sofilou for a very brief introduction. Aris is a founding member of the UCL Cyprus Alumni Club and the president of the Cyprus American Alumni Network. Ari, to you.
Thank you, Jenny. Dear friends, I would like to welcome you on behalf of two of the hosting organizations. The first is the University College London Alumni Club of Cyprus, to which I'm a founding member. This is our third inaugural event, after the successful completion of which we hope to be formally accredited by the UCL Alumni Office. The second organization is the Cyprus American Alumni Network, an umbrella organization for all American University alumni living in Cyprus, to which I am president. Both organizations have a Facebook page where you can contact us and like us. Please help us spread the word and attract more members to our clubs. Our tonight's guest is a prime example of a Cypriot woman engineer who is having a stellar international career. Pavlina Akritas was educated at the University of Illinois, where she obtained a bachelor degree in electrical engineering. Subsequently, she went to University College London, where she completed her master's degree in light and lighting. Pavlina is currently an associate with the prestigious engineering consultancy ARUP, and she is the lighting arts and culture business leader in the UK. She has over 12 years experience working in multidisciplinary teams on a range of international projects. Her specialism is the design of daylight and electric lighting systems in museums and gallery spaces. Completed projects in Pavlina's portfolio include the London Aquatic Centre for the 2012 Olympics, the Inverse Corp building, St. Anthony's College at the University of Oxford, the Broad Museum in Los Angeles, the galleries of the Islamic world at the British Museum, and the Royal Academy of Arts in London. Pavlina's work extends in fashion, where she designed the lighting for various Celine runway shows. Pavlina's work has received numerous international awards. In 2017, Pavlina was named one of the top 50 women in engineering under 35 by The Telegraph, and in 2018, one of the 40 under 40 young lighting designers globally. In 2019, she was named one of the 100 most influential women leaders in engineering, UK and Europe by the Financial Times and Inclusive Boards. In 2020, she acted as the judge for the LVMH Live in Stores Awards, which was designed to help stores reduce their environmental footprint through a range of initiatives. She's also one of the protagonists of This Is Engineering campaign, which seeks to rebrand engineering for people aged 13 to 18. So let's all think how we can learn from Pavlina's paradigm. Attracting more women to the men-dominated engineering profession and to the highly paying construction industry could well be a way to reduce the widely discussed salary gap between men and women. We hope that you enjoy our presentation and looking forward to seeing you in one of our forthcoming events, hopefully after this pandemic is over. And now I will pass you over to Anna Prokopiou, the president of AIPFE.
Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be addressing the third event of the UCL Alumni Club in Cyprus, exactly because I'm one of the founding members as well. But also I am here as the president of AIPFE Cyprus. AIPFE Cyprus, so Women of Europe, has been working on economic and political empowerment projects for women for the last 20 years. Aris is a proud member of the organization, one of the he for she champions, and I need to say this. Janine is a collaborator as well. We were planning to do a lot of things together when the pandemic took over what we were planning to do. And it's a great pleasure, of course, to welcome Pavlina Akritas with us tonight. AIPFE has been a sponsor of women in STEM projects for a number of years now. And the reason we've been fervent supporters of women in science is exactly because jobs in science will be more and salaries will be higher in the future. And we hate to see women missing out this opportunity, which is absolutely important and appropriate and relevant for girls to consider as a career, especially if we wish to close the pay gap, the savings gap, and the pension gap, which still exist even after so many years that women have been in the workplace. And I'm very much interested in having this opportunity to hear what Pavlina has to say. And I want to congratulate her for being a role model for young women, because a role model is exactly what a young girl needs to see to be able to understand that it is possible for her to be an engineer, to be a scientist, because this is not something that career guidance, unfortunately, emphasizes when they're giving options to girls at school. So thank you for this opportunity. AIPFE is very proud to be a sponsor of this event and looking forward to hear what Pavlina has to say.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Aris. Good evening to everybody. It's my turn to thank everybody who joined this event. I want to also thank Pavlina Akritas for joining us today. For our viewers and those who don't know me, my name is Dimitris Karafocas. I graduated UCL 2009. Even though I graduated from the electrical electronic department from UCL, I'm currently an auditor in a large corporation in Cyprus. But enough about me, since time is of the essence. Let's get straight to it. Pavlina, I know you're welcome. I know you have a small presentation ready for us. So let's start with that, and you can take us through your job and position at ARUP, and perhaps tell us a bit more about a couple of projects that you have been involved in, you were proud of.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Welcome from me as well. So I thought I would start this discussion by doing a small presentation about the work that I have done. When people ask me what the lighting designer is, sometimes it can get a little bit confusing. So I think it's better to show that in illustrations. So I'm just going to share my screen. And I'll try and keep it as short as possible, as time is of the essence. So as you by now know, my name is Pavlina Akritas. I was given the name Light Painter by the Royal Academy of Institution, Royal Academy of Engineering, which I will speak to in a little bit later. So as it was already mentioned, my first degree was from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, where I studied my bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. I also represented the university tennis team, which you can see at the top right-hand side, which was a great experience to be far away from home in a very small university town. Later on, I wanted to come closer to Europe. It was a little bit too far for me to travel every time 24 hours. So I decided to do my master's degree at UCL. It's quite a unique institution because there isn't a lot of masters in lighting. So I thought that would be an appropriate step for me to take. And since graduating in 2007 from UCL, I've joined ARUP, and I have been playing with light ever since. So just to give you a little bit of an idea of my portfolio. So one of the first jobs I got involved with was the London Aquatic Centre for the 2012 Olympics. So I've designed the training pool and a lot of the main spaces, such as the showers, the cafe, the circulation spaces, and so on. One of the first arts and culture projects I worked on was the Jumex Museum in Mexico City. And it's a project that I'm very proud of because it was one of the first projects I was solely the lead designer, designing the daylighting and electric lighting design for the building. What I particularly enjoy with what I do as well is not that it also takes me to different parts around the world. It also gives me an opportunity to meet many other people as well. So on the left top picture, you can see the architect, Sir David Chipperfield, with his wife, who I know quite well as well. And on the right-hand side, you can see Peter Finchley, who is an artist. And I went to Mexico to light his exhibition as well. The project that I'm most well known of is the Broad Museum in Los Angeles. And this is a wonderful project because you can actually see the impact that engineering can have on a building. So the desire was to have a contemporary art institution where the top floor was to be primarily daylit through daylight. For art institutions, sun is a no-no. It's too intense for artwork, so it can compromise their color and the quality of the art pieces. So when you see sun entering a museum, it's something that shouldn't happen, basically. So I wanted to share this picture with you, which I got while the project was in construction. And this was a picture that I got from the architect showing me sun penetration through the series of skylights within the space. But what is interesting about this picture, I'm not sure if you can see it here, but you can see that the one stripe is short and one stripe is long. So, and this is actually what is really exciting because we spend a lot of time designing the perfect skylight design in order to avoid sun penetrating through. So why would two coffers have a different distribution where they're meant to be the same? And as a designer, I spend a lot of time looking at this coffer. So this is just a view of the sun looking inside the building. So you saw this yellow bit of the floor. So this means that the sun will actually enter the space. And based on that, I've suggested to the architect, you know, you need to cover a certain bit of the skylight, which looks a little bit like this. And when you actually look what happened in the construction side, on the left-hand side, you can see the vertical visor being included, but then there is no visor included. So that's the reason why it's so important to follow the guidance that we provide. I actually call this the Pavlina visor. I like to call it that way because it's exactly the dimensions that I gave to the architect. It was the first time the architect didn't take something that I've designed and sort of modified it to suit them. So I was really proud because you can really see the impact that a small variation to your design can do in the building. So this was, of course, sorted, and this is how the building looked before the partition walls were brought in. So you can see this perfectly diffused light with no sun penetration within the space. Something closer to where I work. So this is the Royal Academy of Arts. So here we basically replaced the existing track lighting with Bluetooth control spotlights. And this was very exciting again, because it was something that hasn't happened before. We've done a lot of mock-ups in order to show that this system actually works. And this is a project that I actually took Gilbert and George to other artists to show them about the opportunities of using Bluetooth lighting to a building that we are currently designing for them. I was also involved with the Royal Academy master plan, so it was also included a lot of daylighting, as well as designing a series of custom pendants to illuminate the circulation spaces and the theater as well. So this was another project, the British Museum of the Islamic Galleries at the British Museum. So in this case, it was a bit of a different requirement. The requirement here from the client was to allow sun just to hit one particular wall. So how can you use lighting to create this unique visitor experience of creating just this sun penetration through these marble tiles that would naturally be seen under sunlight? So in this case, it was all about designing an arcade above the skylights that is different. So in one side only, just to allow that sun to hit that wall. So this on the left-hand side, you can see it's a lot denser than on the right-hand side, because the right-hand side, we wanted the arcade, the louver system in the skylight to be more open and hit the wall at the end. So this is the project that I'm most proud of, because it's a project I was asked to do something very, very special, which I didn't think was actually going to work. And it was all about designing a fake, if you like, daylight system. So the desire from the client was to allow daylight within the space, but that was not possible. So we were asked to basically use electric lighting to replicate daylighting within the space. And I started doing a lot of research, and I found that there wasn't a lot of information about how the color of daylight changes through the day and with the seasons as well. So I did my own research. So this is actually during Easter in Cyprus, because obviously I cannot expect from UK to have a lot of variation in the sky. So this was some research that I did during my Easter holidays, taking hourly measurements of color and light levels of the exterior conditions. And based on that, I developed an algorithm. So there's a sensor in the roof that measures the color and light level of the exterior lighting. And based on those measurements, the algorithm tells how the electric lighting will behave. And that was one of the best experiences in my life, because I really actually didn't expect it to work. And the project was running late, and we had a bunch of journalists come in the space. And when we actually went to commission it, and you can actually see there is some windows, and it was a partly cloudy day, and you could see the clouds passing outside, and when the cloud was covering the sun, everything would become very dim, very blue, and when the cloud left, everything would become very warm and very bright, and you could really feel it in the space. And I was really shocked and amazed on how well it worked, and it was really wonderful, because even the journalists were shocked as well at that moment. So it was really one of the best experiences in my life. But one of the focus is also about delivering high quality works, because you never know where you're going to go. For example, that project led me to do some fashion shows for Celine in Paris during Paris Fashion Week. So I did 3 in total. So this was the first one I've done, and this was the last one I've done. And based on that project, I was also asked by a tech giant to help them deliver the retail store of Fifth Avenue in New York. So it's really delivering the best you can do, because you never know where it can go. So based on this as well, this was sort of mentioned, I'm also part of the This is Engineering campaign, which is all about showing to the younger generation what engineering is all about. Because, you know, if you really Google what an engineer is, you get all these people with their hard hats, etc. But that's not particularly true. That's just a very small aspect of the everyday work that I do. Of course, I spend time on site, on hard hats and, you know, my casual wear. But a lot of time I spend, you know, meeting great people all around the world and, you know, designing great projects. I'm also involved with the Royal Institution, where I carry a series of masterclasses, which again, it's part of the idea of how can we encourage younger people to take a path in engineering or any other STEM subjects. So here is just the children playing with potatoes and lighting up an LED lamp. And through this last year, in November, I also met Lewis Hamilton, who became an honorary fellow of the Royal Academy of Engineering. So this is just another wonderful experience you can have when you really try to push boundaries. And I was also part of an article because I threw in an interview that, you know, I don't really wear a hard hat that much. I actually wear mostly heels when I work. So it became a BBC article. I didn't even expect it to become this big, my picture to be in the top news. So that was hopefully a short summary of what my job entails. And I think, I guess we can have our interview now.
Dimitri, did you get cut off? I think we have a bit of a connection problem.
Not me, Dimitris. Put on Dimitris. I'm done.
If Dimitri is not on, I'll continue the interview.
Yeah, yes, go ahead with the questions,
Okay.
Janine.
Okay, so basically, Pavlina, I think you've covered this, but we'd like to hear more about it. The idea of breaking down misconceptions about the strictly technical nature of the profession that you're in. We'd like to understand a bit more about how versatile the profession actually is, how inclusive it actually can be. You work, I mean, in a very niche subcategory. Would like to hear more about that.
So I mean, yes, I work in a niche category, but to tell you the truth, you know, this is applicable to every engineering discipline that ARUP gets involved with, to tell you the truth. Breaking the misconception, I think engineering, the problem with engineering is that as people, we relate it to the person who comes and fixes our lamps, for example, or a fridge, or so it's not something that we see every day. We don't see somebody working in an office and creating an amazing building. So the role is, so engineering is both about combining science and art. Some subjects might be a little bit more technical, but there is a lot of subjects that also include a lot of an artistic flair, let's say. So I think I think one of the difficulties with the word engineering is that it encompasses a lot more other disciplines that are not that obvious. For example, you will know what a teacher does. They teach children. You know what a dentist does. You know, they fix teeth. So with engineering, it's a little bit different because it just has so many other subcategories that are difficult to think of. And over the years, you don't just have an electrical and mechanical and structural engineer. it has been realized that you need further specializations which are not as obvious. And I think one of the main role that we have in people, I guess, being involved in these niche categories is to spread the word and make younger people especially see the variety that exists out there, and that engineering is something that they could do in the future themselves, because it's not just somebody in a hard hat or, you know, with dirty trousers coming to fix your fridge or something like that.
Thank you for that, Pavlina. Moving on a bit from the projects that you've presented us, which are amazing, by the way, and especially working in fashion must be very exciting. What would you feel is your greatest contribution to the engineering sector? I mean, if you'd have to name your top one, what would you say?
I wouldn't say it's project specific, because amazing projects can be done by many people, and there's a lot of amazing projects around the world. But I think my greatest contribution is spreading the word that engineering is for everyone, it's inclusive, it's diverse, and there is something for everyone they can do, you know, because there is such a big variety. And this is something that I'm very passionate personally about, because I did have family influence to go in the engineering sector, which I think most Cypriots do actually have a little bit of a push from their family of what they should do in their future career. But at the same time, I didn't expect to like it as much, if that makes sense. So that's something that I'm trying to do myself, is spread the word about what engineering really is and how great it can be.
I think we have Dimitri's back. Dimitri?
Welcome back.
Yeah, hello guys. Yeah, I don't know. With technology
I
these
think
days,
COVID realities.
whatever
COVID
you do.
realities. Okay, so
Yeah, probably,
I
most
think
likely.
Pavlina, I think the next question, Dimitri, was we would like to ask Pavlina is about pursuing a similar career in Cyprus. I mean, if you'd like to elaborate on that a bit more, so Pavlina can revert to us.
So
yeah, I mean,
I think
is Cyprus ready? If you know, is the Cyprus market, is it ready, or have you reached that international level where lighting actually plays a significant role in design, or are we like light years away?
I wouldn't necessarily say light years away. I think there is an attempt to understand the importance of lighting, but I think it requires some education as well. The unfortunate thing is, I think with lighting, with the technology that exists at the moment, it is more expensive. And the reason it's more expensive is because, especially with LEDs, you can get a great variation of product quality. And it's difficult for a everyday consumer to understand the difference between LED 1 versus LED 2. So you end up buying the cheapest thing, which might not be very good, for example. I mean, I'll give you an example. LEDs favor blue colors, and they greatly underestimate red colors. So, you know, if you buy the cheapest light out there, you will go end up putting it in your kitchen and your tomato will look, I don't know, green, you know. So is that really the sort of environment you want to create in your home? And I think it requires a lot of education, because unfortunately, good quality products do cost a little bit more, but I think the end result is really worth it. So yeah, so I think that's so I think it needs a little bit of education, and lighting is very visual as well. So personally, I do a lot of mock-ups, and we invite clients to mock-ups as well, because they like to understand what they're getting, and a calculation doesn't necessarily show the exact end result. So I think it's seeing is believing. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, Janine.
So thank you, Pavlina, for that. On to a bit more questions from a girl to a girl. So you've been named one of the top 100 most influential women leaders in the UK engineering sector. You're equipped with an engineer's technical knowledge, the eye of an artist. You light up events, fashion shows, and to quote you, which is a quote I quite like, you do engineering in high heels and not with a hard hat. So tell us how it is to be a woman in your profession and how easy or difficult it is for a woman to gain your type of recognition in your field.
I think I was quite fortunate that I work for ARUP, which is a big multidisciplinary team of 17,000 people. So diversity is something that is really encouraged within ARUP. And so I was quite fortunate to be in a company that understands that, you know, you can have a wide variety of leaders, you know, with whether that's gender or you know, ethnicity. So I was quite fortunate about that. I mean, this does still exist within the industry, even in the UK, where a lot of effort has been put in to avoid diversity. But at the same time, I like my actions to speak louder than my words. So I always try to do the best in every project, and my projects basically speak for themselves. So I think it's it takes some time. Discrimination can happen, and if it really is really bad, I would recommend changing a company, because some companies obviously don't put as much effort. But at the same time, do your best, because ultimately you're going to show what you are based on what you create, rather than just being a woman in an engineering industry.
I think that's a very positive message coming from you as well, being a woman in, I mean, a quite man-dominant area. So well, actions speak louder than words, and I think we should all stick by that. It would be interesting to understand, though, when you converse with others, what do they think your role in the industry is? I mean, do they react? Do they act surprised once they hear what you actually do, what you actually manage, how senior and how well known you actually are in the area of in the engineering sector in the UK, and generally in Paris and other parts of the world? So, I mean, I don't go around saying what awards I got. So I usually just discuss with people what I do, and to make it to make it clearer, I usually give them examples of what I do, because then they can understand. Because lighting is so visual. Just speaking that you go design lighting, sometimes they get it confused with product manufacturing, for example. So I usually give examples and explain why it's important as well. And I think once you start speaking a little bit with knowledge and confidence about what you do, people start understanding and appreciating the quality you can bring on a particular project. Thank you for that as well, Pavlina. What I think would also complete the picture of what we're trying to paint here is if you'd have to share one piece of advice to another female colleague who would like to pursue a similar career, what would that be? And to make it a bit more complicated, would that advice be different if it were to a man? No. So I don't believe advices should be different between females and males. And I think one of the issues is that we put too much emphasis on who is female and who is male. I think people should be treated equally, regardless of gender or ethnicity. And I am a very strong believer of that as well. And my advice is to be driven by passion, because passion really makes you go that extra mile and really nurture your client and build a really strong relationship because ultimately it's the client's project. So you really need to understand what they want. You're not designing the project for yourself, which I mean is partly for yourself, but at the same time, what you are designing for is the client themselves. So you really need
to try your best, because the client puts a lot of money in what you have to deliver. And this is a lot driven by passion. And I think if you're passionate about what you do, you can really go very far, because you really want to deliver the best possible outcome. And the same advice goes to both males and females. I don't think it needs to be specific.
So you talk about passion, and that's the driving force you have. What attributes would you do you look up to in a leader? So is passion the main attribute, or is creativity or guidance? I mean, if you had the ideal boss, what would that be?
So actually, I have a role model, and the reason why the role model is that particular person, who is male, by the way. I mean, I don't really discriminate. I don't really look, it doesn't need to be a female. But I work with a few people over the course of my career, and I quite like the way this person worked, because he was very collaborative. Even though he is a director, and I was at that time I was just a designer, not an associate, so quite not senior, quite younger then. It was all about collaboration and really make you feel that like they value what you have to say, because once you feel that you're part of the team, you really want to do the best you can. So for me, it's important for a leader to be very collaborative, to allow you to speak of your opinion, even though it might be wrong, because obviously you come with a fresh mind, so you might not have as much experience, so they might guide you to the right direction. But I think younger people, you should be given opportunities as well, because they come with a fresh mind, as I said, with new ideas that, if you've been working in the industry for 13, 14 years, you sort of are fixated with your ideas, and unconsciously you might use the same thing over and over again and recycle. So it's good. So I think collaboration is key, because it makes people feel empowered within the team, regardless of grade, and this makes people work a lot harder. And so I think collaboration is key in a leader.
Collaboration, I think, is key in a leader in every profession. It's quite interesting how you put that forward as a very important element in the workforce. I mean, do you feel that the UK has that in terms of its workforce, and is that a principle that's cultivated at ARUP? I'm sure it is, or generally in the UK or in Europe. It would be interesting to see what your feel is vis-a-vis the Cypriot workforce. Do you feel we have that? Is that a skill you'd suggest for us to adopt?
So I haven't worked in Cyprus at the moment, so I'm not really sure how collaborative they are. I know they're very friendly. We Cypriots are very friendly, but I cannot really speak in terms of how collaborative they are. But collaboration, I think, it's a skill that sometimes needs to be developed. It doesn't come naturally to everybody. So it's something that is very high up in an attribute for a leader within ARUP as well. But I think it's something that doesn't come naturally to everybody. So it's something that they need to build as well. I had this example of a leader since I was very young at ARUP. So it was something that I really appreciated and treasured, in a sense, because I work with a lot of other people. You don't always feel this collaborative approach. So it's something that I try to do now with the teams that I work with, is give younger people the opportunity to use their own methods, because they tools that I have, so I cannot suggest the kind of programs they need to use. So collaboration is something that is a very high attribute. It doesn't come naturally to everybody, but it's something that I think it's promoted. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. What do you think is needed to elevate the standard of the construction industry in Cyprus? I mean, have you any feedback from colleagues that are working here? What's your feel of the situation?
While I have a family which is in the industry, I cannot respond to that because I haven't really pursued to ask about that question. So I could ask and let you know in the summary note after.
Okay. And also I think a question on COVID is a must. We have to mention the word COVID nowadays. So how do you feel that the engineering sector has evolved during COVID? I mean, do you think it's adapting well, or?
I think it's very country-based. So in the UK, for example, at ARUP, we were already experimenting with working from home. So it was something that we've even done more extensively with one of our other offices outside of London, where they started experimenting with people working half the week at home. So we were already well equipped to be working from home. So I actually haven't been to the office since March myself. So, and I don't plan to go even at the beginning of the year. I think probably will probably be March when we next go to the office. So I think it's from a UK perspective, I think we have been well equipped, and those smaller practices who haven't been well equipped, they have been over the time they realize how important it is to be able to work effectively from home, because obviously the construction industry is one of the industries that actually hasn't stopped during the pandemic. At the same time, it has enforced us to find new ways to collaborate. So, meetings through Teams or Zoom is something that I do on a daily basis. But at the same time, we have found ways to carry out stakeholder engagement. How do you engage with stakeholders to choose a particular scenario? So we have been quite, I think, at least within ARUP, and I think within other bigger organizations in the UK, there has been ways to work around not being able to discuss face-to-face. And I think it has been very, very successful. As I said, I didn't have to go to the office since March. And while I'm getting tired of working from home, at least I think it will lead to a better future where we're actually allowed to have a more flexible working environment, where we don't need to be at home in the office from 9 to 6, where you can work 2 times per week from home because that's possible and you can be as productive. So I think it will change the whole working ethos of the industry. Within ARUP, we have been even discussing how maybe there won't be one big office that people go to. Maybe there will be smaller hubs around London where people can meet each other, basically, so you don't have to travel all the way, because the thing that you're basically missing is the companionship in the office, right? So it's meeting people, laughing, having a coffee, but maybe you don't need to move all the way to central London, because it's very expensive to live in central London as well. And if you live outside of London, it takes you an hour to go all the way to central London. So is this the sort of life you want to live, where you spend 2 hours commuting because you really need to have a bigger house because you have a family, etc.? So this is based in the UK. In Cyprus, I don't think they're there yet to work from home because it's smaller and the offices are smaller, but I think it's a great opportunity to shift the way of thinking because ultimately you need to finish a job. If you don't work, it will be visible if you're at home and just resting. So I hope the industry shifts as well in perspective in Cyprus as well.
It definitely has, Pavlina, it definitely has. How do you see London now with the new updates and the new vaccines that they are giving out? You think that you're still going to go? You think the deadline is still March 2021?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
You're still going to be working from home till March 2021?
Probably, because they're not going to vaccinate most people. They're going to do it in by group, by age group. And so I don't think by March there will be sufficient portion of the population immune to be able to work from the office. Mind you, I do. I mean, as I told you, we were already in a flexible arrangement, so I didn't have my own desk in the office anyway. I just took my laptop and plugged in a random desk every day before we left in February, March. So I think there will be. I think because space is limited, we'll still have this joined coming in the office and working from home for a very long time, even permanently potentially.
Yeah, it's probably going to be our new way of living for a bit. Let's forget about COVID for a bit at least, and let's take a small trip down to memory lane. You studied in UCL. You studied in the University of Illinois. Tell us a few things about the experience in working in the US, in the UK, some guidance that you might be able to provide.
So
which one?
The experiences
were,
the experiences were very different because in the US I spent 4 years, and it was really great for that part of my at that point in my life because it allowed me to be independent from my family. So it's good to get away from home because you learn to be independent. And being in a small university town, you really feel like you're part of the community. So I was 17 when I went in the US. I had a bit of a culture shock at the beginning, which is normal, I think, in the big Midwest, in a Midwest university in the middle of cornfields, leaving Cyprus. So it was a bit of a culture shock. But because it is a university town, you're not, you feel really like you're a part of a family. So, everybody's wearing the same colors, everybody's encouraging each other, most of them are students anyway, or they have some relation to the university. So it was really great about being an independent person and also being a student athlete, because student athlete is also something that is greatly encouraged in the US. Because you train 3 hours, you go to other cities and you play with other universities. So it really felt like a family. UCL has other advantages. I've only been there for a year, but it's in the middle of a big city. I mean, who doesn't want to live in London for a little while? So it was great in terms of have access to museums, the theater. So it was quite a different experience, but as exciting. So I think joining the two is great because it gives you a different perspective. Actually, there's another difference between the two. In the US, you sort of select courses. So you can be undecided, which can be quite nice as well if you're young and you don't know what you want to do with your life. But at the same time, I don't think you're as ready for the industry as you will be if you were studying in the UK. I think once you finish your degree in the UK, you can be thrown straight to a job. Whereas in the US, they give you a very good overview of everything and you can select the courses, but I think you need to be on the job to actually learn in detail what you have to do.
Has this helped you to with your career, and any specific pointers or any specific points that any of the universities helped you or guided you through any difficulties that you had?
I mean, UCL has been great primarily because it was a very focused degree, and that meant that I got the job that I got at ARUP. So the master's degree at UCL, they're very focused, so I think they can help you find a job easier because they're that focused. My first degree was engineering, so it was quite wide, if that makes sense. So having a specialization in today's age, I think it makes you more desirable by big multidisciplinary firms like ARUP.
That's actually great. I think we might have a few minutes for a couple of Q&As from the audience. I have a question here for Pavlina. Pavlina, what are the impediments in attracting women to engineering profession?
Impediment? So that's how to encourage more women to the profession. I think spreading the word of what it can be and the exciting projects that people can get involved with. As I said earlier, I think the misconception of what engineering is can be quite incorrect, let's say. So spreading the word, being involved in organizations such as the Royal Institution, doing masterclasses, which is something that I haven't seen happen in Cyprus, actually. I was not, when I was young, I just went to school, then I went and played tennis, and then I did my homework. But in the UK, they actually put a lot of effort in tackling the shortage of engineers by doing a lot of courses, doing these master classes of varying engineering disciplines, so you can really get exposed to what engineering really is rather than what you think it might be.
Aris has just sent in me a question as well. I will read it. Pavlina, if you are awarded a huge fund and resources to develop further your field, how would you spend it? That's actually a nice one.
To develop my field, like in what sense?
I think he's
like to bring younger people into the engineering industry.
It can be pretty much anything, or if you want to develop something or anything, basically, whatever.
Yes,
how would you spend? And how would you take the forward?
So I think it's looking at creating engagement programs or outreach programs similar to what I've said, looking at how we can create some programs to engage younger people into the industry in order to basically show them what they can do. It's creating outreach programs and engagement in order to bring more people into the industry.
Okay.
Ari, I hope you're happy with my answer. It was very short, but I hope it was okay.
I think he was, but yeah. I think this is pretty much the time that we have. Thank you again, Pavlina. Thank you again for your precious time and for to personally thank Anna Prokopiou, Aris Theophilou, and Nicolas Kyriakidis for their vital role in reviving the UCL Alumni Club, despite their ultra busy schedules. Our host for this evening, the UCL Alumni Cyprus Club, the Cyprus American Alumni Network, IPMFE Cyprus Women of Europe, and also Oxygono. Also, thank you to our production team, Black Lemon. Finally, I want to personally thank Janine with her hard work in organizing. We wouldn't have this event possible. And thank you all. This event has come to an end. As they say, that's all, folks. Have a good evening.
Just the last point. Just the last point to all the UCL alumni. We just like to remind you to please get in touch. This is of course to present the success of UCL alumni of Pavlina, but also to bring us together. We would have hoped for it to be a physical event. However, we still have Facebook, and you can send us your contact details in the messenger on Facebook. And please do let us know if you'd like to be more actively involved, or at least send us your contact details. It's very important for us to reconnect and to find a way to have more and very constructive discussions, and like the one we had today. And we really look forward to seeing everyone, and please be safe. And hope to see everyone soon. And thank you, Pavlina, once again. Thank you, because we actually think that you're mid-traveling at the moment. So it's a very nice of you to be able to take the time to give us this interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Good night.